Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, February 10th, 2025. Hi, I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. We are at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. We're on 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media, TV for old people like me. And we're also found on the web at Maui Stream, which is Akaku's thing for all their channels and radio. And you can also go to YouTube, and if you put in Dream Maui and the number 1, you'll see all these shows. You can find them in descriptions on MauiNeutralZone.com and all about all that we do. You know, I am now feeling pressured every day. People are saying, be political. Tell us all the bad things that are happening. We have a new president. It is so horrible. It is so... I don't particularly appreciate the fact that Donald Trump is in the White House at all. But now that he's there and doing his thing, in just a few short days, he's created every day's news cycle to be a piece of, like, gigantic change happening. And just like anything, you can look at change as an opportunity for growth or not. And this is one of ours of growth. Maybe we'll turn you out there into more political. What do you mean? Speaking up, talking up, and living up to your potential as a human being who isn't going to let something roll over you. Even a government. I don't like saying that because that sounds like revolution, which is not my plan. My plan is evolution. And part of that is they used to be called MDs. That's, I was going to say military doctor, medical doctor. But how do you define medical? I have someone today who's an ND. If you're a big... I like to think of it as I'm Jason Friday the 13th, but I'm Jason Saturday the 14th. MD has graduated to ND. That's a naturopathic doctor. And I have someone that on Maui, some people know really well, and some people know really, really well, Dr. Valerie Simonsen. Welcome to the show.
Aloha. Aloha. Thanks for having me here today. What a gift.
Well, I am just thrilled to have you. Valerie is going to be coming on board soon here at KAKU Radio and TV, doing a show at the same hour, I believe, 11 o'clock on Fridays, and then they do a repeat. But like me, I'm sure she'll find ways of getting it up there and throughout the media, which is what we'll do. And we'll all be cooperating and getting you to watch each other's shows because... she is really a terrific person. How long have I known you? 30 years?
We were just debating whether it was 40 or 30, but you wanted to be 30, so let's go with
30.
that.
I got here in 1988, and in those first early years, I knew you, regularly, and then you went off in your journeys, or I went off, but were you on Maui, but you've been back and forth somewhere?
I did. I was traveling all over the world doing international crisis relief work.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years I was all over the world. Yeah.
Wow.
But I would always come home to Maui, take care of some people, and then fly out.
That's a good plan if you can work that one.
It did. It was divine alignment for sure. It was wonderful.
I remember when you were in, I don't know if I can say, I can say Kaho'okele. You were Kaho'okele.
Oh, yeah.
That's a while ago, but that's when I remember. That
Yeah.
was a nice spot around the corner from Unity Church there.
Right. Susie O's old
Susie
house.
O's old play.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
See, we know all these names. You guys don't know who Susie O. There must be a Susie O performer now, but this was Susie O who was active, I want to say, a development of people's awareness of people outside the conventional box. And I like to think of you as someone I know. When I first met you, you were outside of the conventional box in that you were an ND, a naturopathic doctor. You guys will know what that is here in a minute. She'll tell you all kinds of stuff. But I just saw you as a beautiful young woman who was also a doctor. and kind of helping people and talking. And then as years came, I realized you became, I want to say, a coach and a sage, but you're still a doctor and practicing, like you say, you go around the world and come on back and do more of that. I guess you can't take the country out of the, whatever that story is.
Right.
So how did you get into becoming a doctor, and where are you from?
Well, originally I was born in Montana, and you were talking about Yellowstone this morning,
Yeah.
you know, the movie. I was raised not too far from there and did my undergrad in Bozeman, which is just a trip away from where the movie was made, or the shows are made. But I grew up in a very, very small community, Sheridan. But my father was a fireman. Everything was about volunteering. If there was something happen, you needed wood, we could get you wood. If there's a fire, everybody got to go help with the fire, things like that. So I was always raised in volunteering. And when I was in 7th grade, I actually got to be on the ambulance, which was a hearse that the mortician had donated. And I never really got to do much, but I learned a lot about crisis care. And then I became working on the ambulance, and it was all volunteer. Did that for 15 years in Montana.
Wow.
And then decided, you know what, I need to go bigger, so I decided to be a nurse. And so in my first or second year of nursing, they escorted me out of the room and said, you're not going to change nursing, and you don't have the right personality for a nurse because you don't take instructions well. You're not good at being told what to do. So they sent me over to pre-med, and I went into pre-med with the thought of being an ER physician. I love trauma, I did then. But my health went down seriously, and I had 3 near-death experiences during that my time in the WWAMI program, the pre-med program. And in that process, one of the doctors, he said, you know, go home, make out your will, you're going to die. Again, we're not going to be able to save you. And do something with your daughter. And then a naturopath showed up in Bozeman, Montana, Willow Moore. And I went and saw her, and after sitting with her for 2 hours, she listened to my story, and she says, oh, I understand. As I have a history of sexual abuse, there's a lot of violence, and she listened to all of that, and she said, well, this is what's going on here, this is what's going on here. And between a naturopath, a good surgeon, I have an artificial part from having to have part of my intestine replaced, and acupuncture, chiropractic. I had it all, a great counselor. And my counselor said to me one day, you know, you're going to be one of those other doctors. And so I applied for naturopathic school and, of course, got in. And that's the story. But I am a bridge between I used to be a bridge between the medicines. That's just changed this week. I'm not going to be a bridge between the medicines anymore because we're already integrative. They're being, you know, what they're teaching in medical schools, and I work with doctors every Tuesday and have for years with the COVID situation. They've got it. They've figured it out. So I'm reinventing myself, and I'm going to do more of this and get information out there that they can trust, because there's a lot of stuff out there that, I kind of question.
You're talking about things that fall into the category of woo-woo medicine, right? Is that what you mean? People that talk about this and that. I don't want to say energy healing. Some of it isn't powerful and well-directed, but there are many things out there that people say, oh, you take this tincture and it's going to impact your kidney in a good way. And you take this and this will cure your this and that.
Hey, we're being called.
We're being called. I know that's not for us.
I wonder who it is.
Mom, I'm not here.
He left a long time ago. Oh, Tony's coming to save the day. Thanks, Tony. You know, it more is a concern for me is that there's information out there that is taking us further and further away from our innate knowing.
Okay.
And so my focus in these last years of my life, I started a nonprofit. It's called You Know More. And it was started after being in Bali with a woman that was paralyzed 10 years, couldn't even swallow, couldn't talk, all scrunched up and everything. And in a few weeks' time, she was able to speak, walk, great sense of humor. And when I was asked, how did you do that by the medical people there, how did you do that? And I thought about it. What did I do that was different was that I believed in her. Other people were believing in the diagnosis, but I believed in her. And when I left that country, I'm driving in Australia, going to work with the Aborigines in Australia, and it just came. The reason she healed, I believed in her, but she knew more. You know more. So that's been my message for years, but with the pandemic, I had 5 peers take their life in medicine. And I vowed to do something about it. I want to take care of my peers. And I have people all over the world. It's not just on Maui, but that's what we did. We started a nonprofit that is giving restorative care for first responders, healthcare providers, educators, and community leaders, which is just about everybody, especially on Maui, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure has. You know, with the world's problems, we had a fire that burned down our whole Lahaina. So that's big meant. But when you compare it to global, we're starting to be off the global radar only because there are so many bigger issues. But we're big here.
It's been huge. I was over on the west side for 3 months straight. Someone sponsored me to be over there. I had a safe place to stay and was on the front lines for 3 months. And then I still work over there. And the most important thing at this stage, for me personally, is to acknowledge the resiliency of these people that are still standing. And we've lost a lot. And they still are leaving the planet. But what is it inside these people that makes it so that they can move forward, and they do move forward? Takes me back to you know more. There's something inside of you, Jason, that just knows. And when we tap into that, we would call that miraculous or da-da-da-da. It isn't. That's the way it's supposed to be. This body wants to
Do you give clues, like if you have a client, do you give them a list to pick and choose from? Or do you have any kind of way of corralling someone's knowing into medical?
And it happened decades ago. I had a little girl with a urinary tract infection. I tried everything to treat it. And I was going to have to, look at the possibility of sexual abuse, right? Because we've tried everything. But that morning I was in my meditation, I was told, have her draw a picture of herself. So I did. She drew a picture, and there was an apple in her belly, a big apple with a worm. Now, back then, that's 35 years ago at least, we didn't think about parasites in a civilized country such as, quote, Maui, right? And they were this family took excellent care of their children. And so treated the child for parasites, never sick again. And I saw the mom like 17 years later, because I never saw him again. She said she never got sick again. She was able to heal herself, and they used natural remedies because they live on the land, right, off the land.
So when you said you were redefining yourself, it sounds like you defined yourself and used natural things that you say they got it now. Would they now treat her for parasites if they saw her more than before?
In medicine, regular medicine? Yeah, because parasites are everywhere.
So the world is knowing parasites now.
Yeah. I remember when one of my peers, she wrote one of the books years ago. Man, she had a tough time. Anne Louise Gittleman, she wrote a book about parasite is the cause of all cancers. And man, that was pretty big statement back then. But now I have seen that to be pretty accurate. Got to get rid of the parasites, go in, repair the gut from the parasites, and and then use whatever people want to use. I'm all about whatever they want, but make sure that they're educated about what they want, not just being told what to do. They have to listen to their body. Okay, I'm going to start chemotherapy, but I'm also going to do rescue remedy, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to meditate more and go through what we call integrating the medicines, right?
Yeah. So let's not forget that you have a show coming up on Fridays at 11. Kind of start in a couple of weeks. What are you thinking?
Oh,
soon?
yeah. Hopefully I get all the
Up to tasks.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are just going to have to keep tuning in and just keep looking and listening. We'll probably have Dr. Valerie has been on Tony Midnight's show at 1 o'clock here on Akaku a few times. So you guys already know each other, so that's good. He is such a terrific guy and such a champion of this place at the radio. He's single-handedly kept us going, you know. He's really been a terrific help. You'll find him to be very cooperative, and it's so easy sitting on this side. You out there in radio, TV land see me here, but that's because someone put a camera here, and there's a camera here, and a few buttons. We get the easy part. We push a few buttons here. But behind all this is Tony Midnight running this place. And also he has a show, I think, Monday to Thursday, 1 to 2.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So I want to plug him, and I'm going to make sure to keep plugging you. I hope you'll do the same for me. We're, you know, the fact that we're on Akaku and KAKU radio is great. But these other mediums now, you got to mention Maui Stream. You got to mention YouTube and Dream Maui and the web address, because we are, you know, it's like, where do you turn? How do you receive your information? Because I've had people that when they suddenly tune into my shows, they're like, wow, how come we haven't heard of you? How come you don't have podcasts? Because everything takes a few more hands and a few more of this, and copy it here and edit it here, and you can only have these words. Like here, we can't put credits on during the show. We only have to do it at the beginning for less than 15 seconds and the end. I've had shows that I didn't even know that rule. That's because I'm just in my own little world. But so there's that version, and then there's the up in the rest of the world version. But this is public access, which is interesting. And here we're guided and governed by the FCC. So I've had a couple of shows thrown off the internet, and not thrown off is not a nice word, but only giving you sort of this is the training period. I had a guy from India, well, I'm dry, who was from Pakistan. And he found me through a global activist, because I interviewed this other guy about dioxin and the toxins that are in the soil, and a situation with listen wherever and whatever. The world is connected, and we are part of that link. But at public access, you got to find us. So that's why we promote each other and tell you about other mediums. Because here they want to make sure that public access. Could you imagine that the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs has been taking, you see, you don't know what I'm going to talk about ever. And to you, Dr. Val, you want to be called Dr. Val, Valerie?
Valerie's great.
Valerie, okay. But the world is shifting, and public access TV is one of those voices where you hear a clear message that isn't being screened. What do they say? We don't do any fact checking. It's sort of like Facebook. Now, we don't have as many connections and hooked up as Facebook, but we have information on that you might not find other places. And they take off the web because it's a little too controversial. That guy in Pakistan was an American pilot, 911pilots.org, and
Wow.
he was talking how those people flying into the Pentagon and or the World Trade Center couldn't have been flying those planes. So that got shut down. They shut it down. So you're breaking new ground here. This is a neutral zone. We're anything but neutral. I imagine you too. You break the traditions. The MD becomes the ND, and that little part in between is where we meet Deepak Chopra in that space between where things all fit together. They integrate. Integrative medicine. Integrative. I always talk about it with environmental, economic, education, and entertainment. But you could talk in medicine. This world is growing up, and people are starting to get it, but they need a reliable public source with experience and that can speak to them and be aware of them in many ways at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's a great role for you.
It really is. And back almost 25 years ago, there was a young woman, Christine Marie, and I and a team, we had a television show. We were the #1 television show here on Akaku for 2 years. It was called The Doctor Is In. And that was way before Dr. Oz and all of that. I mean, we hadn't even talked about yoga yet out in the public, right? Or that music therapy. Celia Canty came in and we did music therapy. We had all of these different modalities that were really on the fringe, and we made it normalized, right?
Good work.
And so when the fires happened, I was up country and Maui and trying to get in, and I couldn't because of all the legal, right? So I just set up my truck in the parking lot and people just started coming. But when I was trying to get in some other resources, nothing was working. One day I was driving and I'm like, God, just show me what to do. And my truck, literally, my truck's name is Sammy, literally pulled into the parking lot at Akaku, and I went, Akaku. I walked in, and in a short period of time on a show with Tony, I'm with Chivo, we started giving tips. How do you deal with these enormous stress? This was in the first couple of days, right? And it was like, oh, yeah, I'm coming home to Akaku. I'm loving this. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I have nothing but compliments for this whole group here. The staffs, many of these staff people, like you say, Chivo, and I don't know who else you're dealing with, but there are people here a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And through the years, I've found that they're still here because they're passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah.
The delivery of a public message. Jay April, who runs this place, is very blessed to have really great people.
Yeah.
And that's why I was complaining here earlier. It may have come and gone to you. The DCCA taking money out of the pocket of public access television diminishes their ability to give back to you, to make this public access an enriched experience where they're not running in 80 directions because they don't have enough resources to bring on another person or two. It's really been an amazing struggle for public access over the years. I can't believe I actually was in the first class here when they taught how to do it. Yeah. My instructors were Bob Bangeter, who was not Bob Bangeter, was it? No, it wasn't Bob Bangeter. He's a music guy. It was Bob, who lived next to me up in Maui Meadows, and Don Couch, who became a councilman here. We all remember him.
Yeah, of course.
And I did a couple of things, and suddenly I was doing it and editing and all that. Now it seems very mainstream to me. I mean, even though I can't see as well, I'd love to dole that part of it all out to someone.
Yeah, right.
But it's been a really good experience, and it really got me to realize that public access is just access, just like our life. You have access. Now you have to do something with what you've accessed and integrate it into action plan, Because to me, a dream without moving your feet is just staying in that dream world. But you integrate it into the physical world by taking action, It might be in teaching and educating, but so I'm really happy to have you on every Friday. So if I have any aches and pains or anything else, I can call you on Friday.
And we do have guests lined up, and they're all different modalities.
Right.
And there's the Kanaka, and then there's, we just have a beautiful 12-month lineup for things. But I love what you said about access. This is public access. And I'm going to bring that back to our bodies. This is our public domain. And when we access it, you know more. And when we return to the nature of your nature, the nature of your nature, that banana tree has 65% the same DNA as a human does. And I saw over on the west side, in that horrible, devastated area, probably the worst part, one day there was a little green coming up. And then the next day, more green, more green, more green. And then they put up the barriers so you couldn't see anything. And pretty soon, there's a banana tree with bananas going over that screen, right? That's what we are, too. We have gone through the situation of this terrible fire, and it's happening everywhere, whether it's fire or water all over the world, right? But there's something, people rise. They rise. They grow, and then they start something new. And that's the evolution that you were talking about in the very beginning. Linking with other people, but linking with ourselves first.
So important.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people that I have gotten connected with from the fires, like one of them that I've known a long time, she said, God, I've lived here my whole life. I never knew those people were there, or these people were there. And these women and these men that are coming together, whoa, it is so amazing. And everybody knows what they do. That first day that I got over into the west side, somebody pulled a string and got me through the barriers, right? And I called a friend and I said, I'm in awe, or I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm crying, I'm grieving. And then I said, no, I'm in awe. To watch these people work together was amazing. And when I stepped on the ground on Honokawai Park, there were a few hundred people that I knew that were healthcare providers, but a lot of them I didn't know. But we never even had to communicate. We just knew, she's going to do that. I'm going to do this. He's going to do that. We didn't even have to talk. It was magical. It was an orchestra.
Wow. Thank goodness we are really blessed with people here that really, and when there's a crisis, they are there in rare and beautiful form.
They really are. And right now, the key word is collaboration. Collaboration, like you were talking about. Let's link with one another. You have your strengths, I have my strengths, and how can we work together to bring the most reliable information to the world? And I speak the world because that's why I'm here. Let's go. If we're going to go, let's go big, right?
And here in our little community, we are and can be a great example to the world of how cooperation works.
Yes.
And they can see it and touch it and come visit.
Yes.
I say that I'm making a plea for the people that say, please tell people to come to Maui. Please don't tell them that we don't want them here, that we do want them here. I like to say, come visit. Some will buy their places here, but more than anything, coming here and spending money is fun. Or wherever you are in the world, you can always contribute. There are ways, nonprofits like yours or mine or whatever. I am just sure that if the attitude is good, the outcome is good.
Right.
And things work, like you say, naturally without saying, because you're aware and your outcome is somehow, it all just plugs in naturally. Isn't that funny? It's like I said, I was comparing medical doctor to naturopathic doctor. Used to be, everyone said, what's an ND?
Right.
Now it seems like people are starting to remember. ND is naturopathic doctor. What does that mean? What differences do you see in that? Medication difference?
There is that, although when I first started at the hospital decades ago, there was Dr. Beardall and Kaba Anand was part of this whole thing. We were trying to bring in integrative medicine. They called it complementary at that time. But I had started really early with continuing medical education. And because I'm all about, let's bring it together. And at that time, there weren't a lot of doctors on the island that did do anything, like even supplement-wise or things like that, right? Because of their licensing and all of that, insurance. But I remember one day when this one doctor was not being very kind and calling me a witch. She's just a witch. She's just a witch. And this doctor from Kaiser got up on a chair and started yelling, 75% of my people are using her medicine. Now shut up so we can learn something. And through that whole process, it's like I just visited with some of the old docs that, I was running with all the time at the hospital. They all have a pharmacy. They all have their supplements. And one day, one of the doctors, we were learning about how to deal with cholesterol. And they were just introducing a new drug, and I'm not able to say what it is. But one of the doctors said, I want to hear from the expert in the room. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, well, gosh, you've got the drug rep right here. And he says,
about you.
Yeah, he says, Valerie, I want to hear what you have to say. How do I keep my people off of that? So that's what I really started doing, was doing more continuing education for the physicians. How do you do? How do you look at it holistically instead of cutting them up into little pieces, thinking that your liver is different than your big toe? It's not, right? So it was really beautiful. And now as I'm reconnecting with these docs and doctors all over the world, they call it integrative medicine, functional medicine. They actually have schools in functional medicine. I mean, that's what we were taught 45 years ago or whatever it was. It's been around even before us. The native people all used these plants and things. So you'll find some doctors that are going, no, I don't see the research. Okay, maybe you might want a different doctor if that's the way it is, because there's plenty of them that are really well educated and they know there's another way.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad that they also know to consult others who have, I want to say, accumulated wisdom. So I'm so glad that you're here and still doing it all, and you're in our community. We are very blessed to have you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so all these years that have gone by and all the different, to say you like emergency is really sort of like, I love emergencies. Well, good. I'm glad you're on that front line. I like to think that I'm there, but physically there, I'm not really probably as handy as getting the word out and trying to be clear and trying to take away the flames. Meaning getting people calm and able to get in touch with what again, we know, I forgot the words already. You know best.
You know more.
You know more.
You know more.
You know more. .org?
.org.
Okay. You know more.org. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, we're on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, and simulcast on Hakaku Maui Community Media TV. You can find us on the web at MauiNeutralZone.com, or if you go to YouTube, Dream Maui and the number 1, you'll see all our shows there. And also, I think probably the most important is you want to be listening and calling in if you have questions or responding. Do you have an email or some kind of thing that people can be in touch with you easy?
Yeah, I can use my nonprofit one, which is Dr. Valerie at youknowmore.org.
Dr. Dr. period? No, period.
Just Dr.
Dr. Valerie, Valerie. at YOU, KNOW, more, MORE.org. For all you on the radio, I like to say, she was making a picture of an ore, but we were making it like the ore, like the iron ore or silver or the crypto. Oh, God, oh, God. The world is so different now.
Yeah.
We are, do you find that younger people have different, I want to say, characteristics? I think that right now I see people go wide and not deep, and playing football or playing any basketball. They're touching on many things, but there are very few that go deep into things. Do you see differences in younger physicians and speaking differently? Maybe that's the integration we see, or not. I'm curious what you see in young practitioners.
Yeah, it just depends what their background is. Like we've got a number of young doctors on the island that are doing some really great things, and the one thing I notice is that the bridge hasn't quite been built, that they understand that the body can heal itself, and if we can trust that. I remember one of my MD peers, he was a mentor of mine, and he died, was brought back to life, and when he was in the ICU, nobody would really speak to him, and this young resident doctor came up and said, "You'll be okay." And that was his understanding, that his life would never be the same, and he would spend the rest of his life to do what we call integrative medicine. So there's a story behind everybody, right? And I want to bring it back to what you were saying earlier. We each have our medicine that we carry, and you carry yours. Yours has always been your voice, always has been your voice. And I have done international crisis relief work. I can't do that anymore. And I really saw it over there on the west side. I mean, I'm handing it off and constantly handing it off to these younger people that think differently, because they have to in order to navigate this world. I mean, I'm doing good to turn on my computer, right? And I know how to turn on my phone sometimes, right? But these younger people have a way of understanding the wider, maybe not as deep, but that's okay. As everything goes through its process, right? We have mountains, we have valleys. We have mountains, and we have valleys.
It's very comforting to talk to someone that says that, because I find concern over that one of, I can't let go of this baton and pass it on, because I don't feel that someone's grabbing it and really holding on to it, going to take what I have and move it forward. So that's why we have such old leaders. I think they don't understand the transition. That's what I think it is. And they haven't trained leaders, or do they need to? Where are we going? How do we navigate out of these waters?
I'm going to go back to many years ago when we were looking at what they call the indigo child, right? Well, then we started seeing other children that are being born, and they were much beyond an indigo child. And we had all these bands, they call them. There was the scarlet, there was the da-da-da-da. But I had a baby come to me one time with the parents, and things weren't right. And psychically, this child just talked to me and said, "Teach my parents how to deal with me." And that's what I did for a full year, because there were so many of these young children that were born that really knew. They knew something we don't know. We didn't know, right? And so I saw the fabric of the society change. And now these young people, now they're giving birth, or they're having children. And it's so cool, because it's like, it's just going down to that next generation. And they all have a different job. But letting go of that baton, whoo, baby, that's hard to do. And it was, for me, I had to go through a grieving process with that. I just handed off something to some midwives the other day. And there was a group of us, midwives, doctors came together, and we built bridges so that women could have safe access to birthing rights and all of that. I know that's not what I do anymore. And I literally handed the baton off. literally did it. And then we hugged and hugged, and she was crying, I'm crying, and she said, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, you get to, because that's not what I'm supposed to do anymore. Or the other ones, they're dead. There's a lot of them that are dead, you know? That's what happens as we get a little more of this color in our hair, right? So we get to let go, and then I go back to believing in them. I believe in them. Even when I have a hard time seeing that spark, I'll look deep and find that spark and then stay with the spark.
What a special thing to have someone that's your doctor that's listening so carefully and listens with that open ear and also isn't sectioned off when, like you said, integration happens easily. I really wonder where all this current our country is going to go with all this. But I know that we don't have to have walls between each other. And hopefully people will say, well, I may have said I was a Republican because I really like what some of the things he said, but I really identify with many things that are Democrat or green. Politics isn't really it. When we are together, we are one. We don't have walls. We know how to integrate and realize what's important. Right here, we can be a bridge. We are the bridge. We're all here back. Like Ariel says, we chose to come back at this time for this role that we have.
Yeah.
What do you think of our country? Are we going to see the growth of new and exciting things? I know we have a lot of changes happening.
Well, when we look at this, America, you're talking about America, is a young country. It's a very young country compared to France or some of these other countries. So maybe we're just moving out of adolescence. We've gone through puberty, adolescence, and it'll mature. But how it's going to mature is when people return home to themselves, back to the land, food sovereignty, making sure that the water. One day, one of my peers said to me, do you know you can't turn on the water anywhere? You have to have it filtered? And it just hit me. Now, I've always been an advocate for water, the why. But it just all of a sudden hit me, went, oh my God, I cannot turn on my faucet without a filter because of the chemicals that are coming through there. And that's what I love about these young people and that have more adrenals, I'll call it. They can go out there and they are changing the laws. And they are coming up with new systems. And get back to the land, get back to the food, get back to the water, get back to our breath.
Yeah. Life is right here.
It's right there. Aloha.
And our old favorite saying from years ago, be here now.
Yeah.
This is the moment of the power when you have change and growth. All of it is right from here.
It is.
It
is. And I find for myself, I get a little belly stuff going on when I'm thinking about, well, what is happening here? What did they say? What is this? But when I come back to right now, and when I'm not, like this morning, I was making my drink to come. I was also making my breakfast, and I reached for a knife, and the knife fell right between my my feet, a huge knife. And I went, Valerie, come back to now. Now. That's all I have. All of that other stuff's going to be fine. Quit thinking about the show. Quit thinking about this. It's going to be organic, and that's what I love about when I got invited to be with you is I know you. We've played in these fields out here on Maui in the whole fabric of politics, social change, all of these kind of things, all of these years. It's going to be what it's going to be, and I trust that. And I was able to drive in here. There's no accidents, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask a funny question. They're all funny questions, right? Can you be someone's primary care physician?
And get paid by insurance? No.
Okay.
Nope. Nope. I think maybe some naturopaths can now. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I do VIP medicine, which is concierge medicine mostly now. And I have clients all over the world that we create a contract, and they have me 24/7 for a year, which I love. It's the way I used to practice. Was I took care of the whole family, but then with COVID, things started to change. We couldn't do that anymore, right? And the system's changed all the way around. But now I get to work with families again, and it's so great. And it's basically educating. Like yesterday, I have a child with the influenza, right? Very sick, doing all these natural things. They said, "Oh, my mouth, my teeth hurt. My teeth hurt so bad." So immediately, I sent over a image of the nerves to the teeth. He had 3 teeth that are loose. And just one tooth can affect all these nerves,
Sure.
right? And so I educate, and education leads to empowerment, which empowerment leads to evolution.
Here we are. And the more we evolve, the more we realize we have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
It's so nice to just spend time with you. You're very calming and comforting,
Thank you.
you know, and you're, I want to say you're gentle like me, but you're a lion just like me. You can be a lion,
Yep.
but gentle and peaceful is an easier entry into the world.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that our whole world will grow up through this period, which it will have to evolve, but I hope that love keeps rising to the surface and that cooperation or complement. Yeah, I remember when we turned and called it complementary
Right.
medicine
You're
rather
right.
than
Yeah.
alternative, because there is no
Right.
alternative.
Yeah.
They complement each other,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And I've been talking about integration and self-sustainability for so long. Like, Jason, you're a broken record. You're a broken... Yeah.
You know, and being our age, Jason, it's really awesome. Like I can get into a situation and I'm able to observe, okay, that's what this one's doing, this is what that one's doing. And I'm so proud, you know, that maybe one drop made a difference. And that's what we all have to remember, is that you each have something to bring. Mm-hmm. Bring it. Like you were saying, have that access to this body, right?
Yeah.
And then have the action. What are you going to do for somebody else?
The big one.
Yeah. Service.
You know, it is incredible how wonderful you can feel in giving. It just feels like it fills in. It's like fills in all those little holes. You know, it's the water when you pour it into the rocks and it fills up and becomes all filled. You know, we only have a little bit of time left. I say a little bit of time. If I could see clearly, we probably have 8 minutes or so. So what subjects do you want to be sure that when you get done, you go, oh, I didn't mention that. I'd like to make sure that I think about that. I'm going to give you a little platform for direction.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Thank you, Jason.
Sure.
This is my topic that I've been really working on since the fires was, one, safety. But the other one was all the therapists I've ever used, they call it worthy. And in the fires, I realized it's not about worthiness. It's about value. So once a week or once a month, we have an online program for our target market with the nonprofit. And I've just started another project here with them. But it goes back to value. And when we spell the name or the word value, it's VAL, capital YOU, capital Y, capital O, capital U. Value. Value. Because that's what really has been just taken away from so many of us. And when I think about the drug abuse, and I've worked in treatment centers in my life and a lot of addiction situations, they're just sensitive people, but they've not been valued.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so they go to the numbing or whatever it is. But as we go back to value, VALYOU, you are valuable. And everybody is valuable. And when we can really understand that, when we can look in the mirror and go, yeah, I like what I see. And then somebody walks up and says, you know what? I like what I see. Tell me about you. Right? And then, oh, you know what? You have taro. You know what? I have tangerines. Oh, well, let's change. Let's help one another out, right? And that's just a little metaphor for life, is when we understand our true value and then we reach out and connect with others, this is what it's about.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
You guys out there in television and radio land, can you say television? You guys agree too. Television. Well, I think they still call them TVs in the store. It is changing so much. I'm just, the world changing, and that letting go of that baton, I think it's like learning to trust and bring on new leaders from the fabric of who we are, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think has, I don't want to say a missing link. I always like to think that that is our goal, to have people, like you say, you worked at the thing for 15 years, that's a long time, and you grew naturally into being a leader in a system that you worked and lived and grew and integrated. And that, I think, is the way I like to see new leaders, rather than these outside appointments many times, unless it's a new skill set. It would be nice to see things grow out of the ranks of people that are doing it, because it's a natural progression. Grow a leader, put a little water on them.
Right. And that starts in vitro, when the baby's born, and all the way through, right? And call it love, call it whatever you want to call it, but when children understand their value,
It's a different experience.
and they don't see anything, they don't see color, they don't see boundaries, they don't, all they are is they're connected at the heart.
That sounds like all of us looking for that the children have, right?
Yeah.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And show them all the beauty they possess inside. Remember those songs?
Yeah, who did that
Give
one?
them a sense of pride. We've heard George Benson do it. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. That sounds like Whitney Houston. Because the greatest love of all. Was that Whitney Houston? There were a lot of people that said. And that was George Benson before. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
Wow. Right. I got chicken skin. I love it. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it is.
We're very blessed on Maui that we can have people public access. That means you can come out here and play with us and learn with us here and grow this segment of a community here. This is such a beautiful place, isn't it?
It is.
Wherever you walk in here at Akaku, you find people, I like to say, future guests. There was a gentleman, many of you know, Paul James Brown, who's been doing shows and things about the media and forever with Liz Janes years ago, and he's been continuing on in entertainment. Paul's a very interesting guy. He's going to be a guest. Yeah. And Susie out here, who is a very interesting, beautiful person who is going to be a guest. She was on before, but she'll be on again. We all are just such a rich community. I went out to a group called the Mankind Project, and I found, my goodness, these people are worthy to share with the community. So I've shared a bunch of people from there.
Yeah.
And I imagine when you have an interesting guest, if you think someone could be somehow relatable or interesting or tie things in, always send them over. And I say send them over. We are our community here. We want to get the message out and integrate this so that you'll be tuning in every day at 11 and all kinds of times. Akaku has some really interesting programming. You know, I've listened to different things. I have a radio with 6 buttons, but then they have 3 positions times 6. So with 18 channels, I'm trying to get different things. So as I'm scanning and realize, boy, that was an interesting show. Let me put that in. And I find, wow, I have 3 buttons and they all are 88.5 FM. They're all on KAKU radio. How amazing is that? So just know that we really have a rich fabric of things on here. Not only me and Dr. Valerie Simonsen, but that's Monday and Friday. But these other days, you know, this started as a sort of a, I want to say an also-ran, because funding for radio isn't part of the TV thing. It's a separate. And but it has really been just a really nice way to get into this community. More people listen to radio than I really understand here on Maui. I guess because we're driving between areas a lot. Right. So don't be afraid to pick up on Fridays and say, oh, that's Dr. Valerie Simonsen. And she's at youknowmore.org. Dr. Valerie at youknowmore.org. Wow. This thing says we have 1:17, if I can see correctly. We're done. Then we're out of here, no matter what you think.
Proud.
We are leaving you.
Grateful.
Thank you for joining us today. We will see you again next week. Congratulations on your new show, my dear.